You've been lied to. She says she wants a guy with a good personality, and you think that's your ticket to love, attention, or even intimacy. But the reality is far darker and far more psychologically complex than most men realize. Good personality is rarely about being nice, funny, or agreeable. It's often code for something deeper, something that taps into your sense of value, presence, and primal attraction, and most men completely misinterpret it. Here's the harsh truth. When women talk about wanting a good personality, they're usually not talking about traits you can fake, memorize, or perform. They're talking about energy, authenticity, and presence. You can be the kindest, funniest, most dependable man on the planet, but if you lack confidence, purpose, or emotional depth, that good personality won't make you desirable. In fact, it might trap you in the friend zone, endlessly praised but never pursued. The psychology behind it is subtle but ruthless. Humans are wired to seek emotional resonance first and logical reasoning second. A good personality guy triggers comfort but rarely desire. Comfort is safe, but safety is not attraction. Desire requires tension, presence, unpredictability, and self-ownership. Most men confuse being liked with being wanted, and that confusion kills attraction before it even begins. Think about the men around you who seem to effortlessly get attention, respect, and attraction. They're not necessarily better people or more moral than the so-called nice guys. They are men who understand unspoken psychology. They understand the emotional currents women respond to and leverage their energy naturally without trying to impress or perform. By the end of this video, you'll understand why being good isn't enough, what women are truly signaling when they talk about personality, and how to shift your energy so you're not just liked, but deeply desired. Most men never get this insight, and that's why they remain frustrated, stuck, and invisible despite trying everything right. The first truth most men never admit to themselves is this: being nice is not attractive by default. Women notice kindness, but kindness alone doesn't create tension, excitement, or desire. The good personality guy is often the man who avoids conflict, accommodates too much, or suppresses his own needs to make others comfortable. On the surface, it seems like the perfect blueprint for connection, but the psychology behind attraction is much more primal. Women are wired to respond to energy, presence, and emotional contrast. Comfort triggers safety, but safety alone does not trigger desire. Here's the subtle trap. The good personality guy is predictable. He is emotionally available, agreeable, and dependable, but he rarely challenges her, surprises her, or ignites tension. Attraction isn't built on predictability. It thrives on emotional engagement that feels alive. When a woman says she wants a man with a good personality, what she often means, without realizing it, is that she wants a man who has personality plus presence, drive, and emotional intensity. A good personality without those traits is safe, but it's forgettable. Let's look at another psychological truth. Desire is deeply tied to perceived value. Men who are overly accommodating, people-pleasing, or constantly seeking approval signal low self-worth. Women unconsciously detect this, and it diminishes attraction. It's not about morality, it's about energy. A man can be kind and still command respect, but the good personality guy often mistakes compliance and agreeability for value, and that mistake is why he gets stuck in the friend zone. Another layer is mystery and autonomy. Desire is sparked when a man has a life outside of her orbit. He is engaged in his purpose, maintains boundaries, and expresses his emotions with control rather than passivity. The good personality guy often overinvests, becomes overly available, and sacrifices his own priorities to keep her comfortable. That behavior, ironically, erodes the very attraction he's trying to build. Understanding this is crucial. Being likable doesn't equal being desirable. Desire operates on emotional and psychological cues, not checklists of traits. Most men fail to see this, and that's why so many nice guys wonder why they're praised but never pursued. The problem isn't that you're a good guy, it's that you've been taught that being liked equals being wanted. Most men never realize that desire and comfort are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Comfort makes her feel safe, but desire is sparked by presence, emotional depth, and unpredictability. A man can be compassionate, intelligent, and fun, but if he lacks tension, drive, and a sense of autonomy, he will be appreciated, but never desired. Here's the reality most men ignore. Attraction isn't built on what you do, it's built on how you exist. You can be smart, funny, and kind, but if your energy is weak, reactive, or approval seeking, you'll remain the good personality guy she likes but doesn't desire. Shifting your energy starts with self mastery, anchoring yourself in purpose, boundaries, and presence, so your value comes from within, not from her approval. Start with boundaries. Most good personality men are too available. They say yes when they should say no, overinvest their time, and bend to her schedule or emotional whims. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're signals of value. They tell her you respect yourself, your time, and your priorities. And psychologically, women are wired to respond to men who hold space for themselves without being needy. Every boundary you maintain subtly increases attraction because it communicates stability, autonomy, and self-worth. Next is emotional intensity. Desire thrives on contrast. A man who is entirely agreeable, steady, or predictable rarely triggers tension or longing. Controlled emotional expression, showing passion, conviction, or subtle vulnerability without losing composure, creates magnetic energy. She notices these fluctuations subconsciously. She feels alive, engaged, and drawn in ways a flat, good guy energy never produces. Presence is the final piece. Presence isn't just showing up physically, it's how you carry yourself, engage in conversation, and inhabit the moment. Stop over-explaining, stop performing, and start observing. Respond to her cues, mirror her energy subtly, and maintain your groundedness. When you are fully present, your energy becomes palpable, creating unconscious attraction that words alone can't generate. Combine boundaries, emotional depth, and presence, and the good personality label stops being a trap. It becomes a magnet. Women notice, subconsciously respect, and ultimately desire men who embody these qualities. The difference is subtle, but it's the invisible edge that separates men who are perpetually nice guys from men who are unforgettable, magnetic, and deeply desired. The problem isn't that you're a good guy, it's that you've been taught that being liked equals being wanted. Most men never realize that desire and comfort are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Comfort makes her feel safe, but desire is sparked by presence, emotional depth, and unpredictability. A man can be compassionate, intelligent, and fun, but if he lacks tension, drive, and a sense of autonomy, he will be appreciated, but never desired. Here's the truth most men never hear. Women unconsciously evaluate a man's energy before they evaluate his personality. It's not about words, it's about presence. A man who occupies space with confidence, maintains boundaries without rigidity, and moves through the world anchored in self-respect naturally triggers attraction. That presence communicates value without needing to prove it, and it activates desire on a primal level. The good personality guy often lacks this energy because he's too focused on being agreeable, accommodating, or pleasing. Another key element is emotional depth. Women are drawn to men who feel life fully, who can express intensity without chaos, who can oscillate between passion and calm with ease. The good personality guy is often flat in emotional contrast. He's safe, steady, predictable. But that very predictability kills tension. Desire thrives on peaks and valleys, subtle challenge, and controlled intensity. Learning to embody emotional depth doesn't mean being manipulative. It means being alive, present, and expressive in ways that are genuine but electrifying. Then there's autonomy and purpose. A man who has goals, routines, and a life outside her orbit communicates a magnetic signal. He is not dependent on her validation. This independence is the missing ingredient for most good personality guys. When you align your energy, emotional presence, and purpose, you transform from a man who is liked into a man who is remembered, sought after, and desired. Psychologically, the pattern is clear. Being nice without presence, depth, and autonomy equals invisibility in desire. Being good with these traits equals magnetic attraction. The difference is subtle, but it separates men stuck in the friend zone from those who command respect, curiosity, and longing effortlessly. Once you understand the energy shift, most men make the mistake of seeing it as a one-time fix. Attraction isn't a checklist, it's a continuous process. Women respond to consistency in presence, boundaries, and emotional depth. You can't switch it on for a date or conversation and switch it off afterward. Desire is cultivated through ongoing patterns of energy, autonomy, and intensity. That's why the good personality guy fails. He's intermittent, inconsistent, and often reactive instead of intentional. One of the most powerful strategies is controlled availability. Being reliably present without being overinvested signals value. When you have your own life, goals, and passions, you naturally create scarcity in a way that enhances attraction. Women notice energy more than effort. If you overcommunicate, chase validation, or constantly seek approval, you erase desire before it has a chance to form. By controlling your availability, you create subtle tension and anticipation that is biologically wired to trigger attraction. Another key strategy is strategic emotional contrast. You don't need to be dramatic or manipulative, but you do need to balance intensity with calm, curiosity with focus, and vulnerability with groundedness. Emotional contrast keeps interactions alive and exciting. It's why a man who is normally composed but occasionally shows controlled passion or conviction becomes unforgettable. The brain responds to contrast because it creates emotional peaks and valleys, which generate dopamine and sustain desire. Presence in communication is equally important. Most good personality guys drown themselves in words, explanations, and oversharing. The shift is subtle. Speak less, listen more, and respond with authority and clarity. This signals confidence and composure, allowing her to project interest without needing to test you constantly. Presence isn't performance, it's authenticity amplified by awareness. Finally, maintain autonomy and self-respect. Desire is never built on compliance, people-pleasing, or constant accommodation. A man who invests in his own growth, maintains boundaries, and acts decisively sends an invisible signal. He is valuable, independent, and worth pursuing. Integrate these strategies consistently, and the good personality label transforms from a limiting identity into an energy that commands attention, respect, and desire effortlessly. Here's the final truth most men never fully grasp. Being a good personality guy is not your flaw, it's your starting point. The mistake isn't in being kind, reliable, or agreeable. The mistake is in thinking that these traits alone generate desire. Desire is triggered by energy, presence, emotional depth, and autonomy. When you combine your good personality with these invisible currents, you stop being just liked. You become irresistible. Think about it. A man who has boundaries, lives intentionally, communicates with presence, and expresses controlled intensity doesn't need to chase approval or validation. Women feel it unconsciously. They notice the subtle power shifts, the confidence, the unpredictability in your energy, and the groundedness in your emotional world. That is what transforms a safe, predictable good personality into something unforgettable. This is why the most desired men aren't necessarily the funniest, richest, or most physically impressive. They are the men who master their energy, their emotional resonance, and their presence. They integrate kindness with intensity, agreeability with autonomy, and reliability with unpredictability. That combination is magnetic because it aligns with the deepest psychological triggers of desire, not just superficial preference. Now here's something to reflect on. If your daily presence, emotional depth, and autonomy multiplied by your ability to maintain boundaries equals your personal attraction score, what's your number today? Be honest. Write it in the comments, reflect on where you are, and commit to raising it tomorrow. This isn't a game. It's the blueprint for turning your good personality into magnetic, authentic desire that lasts. If this video opened your eyes, like it, subscribe for more truths most men never hear, and share it with a friend who needs to wake up to this reality. Remember, Attraction isn't about being good alone. It's about being a man who embodies presence, intensity, and value without needing permission. Your personality is only as magnetic as the energy you carry, and that energy is everything.